Now we are going to start the session. Good evening, everybody. Before starting this session, I should say the very important thing. The sessions goes maximum 2 hours, but we try to finish within 1 hour and 30 minutes. And the participants should rename using your own name. Then we can identify the person who are talking. So unless you are not talking, please mute your mic. It's really help for us. And I warmly welcome Professor Pandey. He's my guru, and all of you for the online workshop Case Method of Teaching in Finance. On behalf of the University Grant Commission and Faculty of Management, Social Sciences and Humanities at Sir John Kotelawala Defence, which is the hosting university of this event, where I am currently working under my sabbatical. Current chairman of the UGC, Senior Professor Sampath Amaratunga, specially invited Professor Pandey, who is a world-class researcher and the author at Indian Institute of Management, to conduct this special online workshop for Sri Lankan academics who teach in finance discipline. Out of the large number of applications from national universities in Sri Lanka, we finally selected 35 participants who teach finance subject and use case method as a tool for teaching for undergraduate and postgraduate studies. Hope that you will get the fullest benefit from Professor Pandey. As I mentioned, that he's a world-class researcher and the author, and everyone know him because his books are used by most of the academics who are gathered here. As you know that a case study presents a problem or discussion situation in practical business context, the case method is effective way to active participative learning and strategy in the postgraduate and undergraduate programs. Case method help to develop problem solving, critical thinking skills in addition to the communication and teamwork. This workshop will focus on teaching through cases, case discussion, strategy and management. So before moving into the session, it's my duty to introduce our guest speaker. Actually, he's not a guest to us. So everyone knows here, everyone comes from the finance discipline who teach finance subject, and everyone knows what is, who is Professor Pandey is. But even though, I'll give a very brief introduction about himself. Professor Pandey obtained his PhD from Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. He is currently working as Emirate Professor at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. He served Indian Institute of Management for 25 years. 25 years, where he was a director, dean of the faculty, chairman of doctoral fellowship program, and chairman from finance and accounting area. Before moving to the IIM, he was the director general at Delhi School of Business and Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies in India. He also served Dean, School of Management and Vice Chairman, Asian Institute of Technology, where I met him and I had a chance to learn finance at the Asian Institute of Technology, because he was a Dean, as well he was a visiting fellow, and finally he was a Vice Chairman of the Asian Institute of Technology. Professor Pandey's research interests are strategic financial management, financial decision-making process, comparative financial systems, capital market and financial services. He has published more than 100 research articles, including case studies in high-impact international journals, and author of many textbooks in financial discipline. He is on the editorial board of several international journals. Professor Pandey has served as the board of directors of several companies in India and international companies all over the world. And he also served many academic institutions in the world, including Sri Lanka. Once you go through his Google citation, it is very impressive. So he maintained his H index 24 and total citation is 2,391. And before inviting Professor Pandey to carry on this session, I'll take this opportunity to thank Dr. Ajwad and Dr. Chaturani, Dr. Ajwad from University of Jawadharapura, Dr. Chaturani from KUU to organizing this event. And I cordially invite Professor Pandey to carry on this session.
Thank you, Vasantha. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, since you are teachers, so I'm not going to teach you, in fact. I'll just go through these case studies. Three case studies I have selected from Harvard Business School. They are American cases. But then, of course, we can apply these kinds of situations in our own environment. I think it would be good on our part that if we start looking at our own industries and companies and we write our own case studies. Okay. So slowly and gradually, I think we should learn to write those cases. And we can, of course, learn a lot from these Harvard case studies, actually. They are written. I think we should, when you read your case, you should read it very carefully and you should see the style and then the kind of information which is given there, okay? Because that gives we a lot of practice for us to write our own cases. We in India, of course, have written large number of cases. I didn't pick up any Indian case this time. Now, although we have a case book also, and in IIM Ahmedabad, all faculty together, I think more than 4,000 or 5,000 cases have been written there because we basically follow a case method. Now, when you are designing your course, for example, now how you would like to use case, that is a decision which individual teacher will have to make. Now, for example, when I was in IIM Ahmedabad and I taught this course, financial management, the first year course, MBA, as well as the elective courses, of course. In the second year, we had different kinds of electives. But the first year I was teaching this financial management and our entire course was based on case method. So if we have 25 sessions, for example, there would be, if not 25, at least 22, 23 cases would be there. So each topic was discussed with the help of a case. But then preconditions are there. The preconditions are that you have students who are prepared to learn through cases, who don't want spoon feeding. Because lecture method is easier to give actually if you have good control over your subject, if you are a good speaker, I think you will get very good rating from the students. But then how much do they learn is the question. How much can they practice? Okay. So that's an important point. IIM Ahmedabad, because it was started in collaboration with Harvard some 60, 70 years ago, and therefore they committed themselves to the case method of learning. Now, so one is this, that you design your course. Now, for example, if you want to follow the traditional method, mostly the lecture method, and at the same time you want to show some applications, then you can choose some good 3-4 comprehensive cases, all right? So if you divide your course outline, let's say, into certain parts, in finance, for example, you may divide your course outline in the introductory part where you may teach time value of money, then you may come to the capital budgeting, and capital budgeting, cost of capital, then you may have risk analysis. Pick up a case which can combine all of them, where you are required to calculate cost of capital, you have to do capital budgeting analysis. At the same time, there is risk also involved. So if you want to choose a few cases, then perhaps you may like to choose comprehensive cases. Searching case is an activity which a teacher will have to spend certain time. If you have not written your own cases, then you will have to depend on cases written by others. Now, there are several agencies, case houses as we call them. Harvard is the most prominent one. The Ivy League, of course, now those cases are available in Harvard itself. What they are doing now, they are accepting cases from different countries. Of course, it has to have a certain quality. And if that quality is there, you can write even cases on Sri Lankan companies, send it. When you write a case, the condition is that you write a teaching note. So teaching notes are available. Whenever there is a case, there is a teaching note. Teaching note is only to help you actually. And teachers should not look at in my opinion, they should not look at the teaching note first. they should try to understand case themselves as a teacher and then organize it properly, go to the class and try it out. But if you find certain kinds of difficulties sometimes, then you can look at those teaching notes. Don't use them as it is. I have found sometimes, depending on my assumptions, error in the solutions of the Harvard cases. And we have even redrawn them actually. In IIM Ahmedabad, I think I wrote commentary on certain cases sent to the Harvard professors. Some of them responded, some of them didn't respond, of course. So you have to write, otherwise they will not accept your case for publications. So whenever you want to publish a case, you write a teaching note. That teaching note will be a guide to the teachers so that they don't waste much of their time. But don't try, always recalculate because finance always involves numbers. Must use Excel. Excel is a must for finance teachers. And Excel, as much as you learn, you will really excel as a teacher, all right? And you should, I think, persuade your students, motivate your students to for example, use Excel. If they have not learned Excel, I think, for example, in our system, when we have MBA programs in different institutions, one of the first term courses will be Excel applications. It is a general course. The examples could be taken from finance, could be taken from marketing, etc., etc. But then the students, they become quite expert in the use of Excel. Life becomes very easy in finance cases if you do that. Now the universities will have to allow them in the examinations also, at least calculate, because I was surprised when I, of course, left IIM Ahmedabad, went here and there, and then when I came back to Delhi University, because I graduated from Delhi University and I taught in the initial stages. I was lecturer in Sri Ram College of Commerce in Delhi University. And then I came back as Dean of Faculty of Business and Commerce there after leaving IIM Ahmedabad, spending 25 years. I had not retired actually from IIM Ahmedabad. I took voluntary retirement because I wanted to serve my own university, because they made me an offer without even applying for that. So there I was surprised to find out that even the calculator was not allowed by university. So I called Vice Chancellor and I said, look, it's very funny that you can't use a calculator. So he was quite surprised because he was a scientist. And he said that I never knew this. So I said, can we change this rule? It's written in the university rule book. He said, look, you write an application. If you go through, there is AC, Academic Council, there is Executive Council, and I have to go through them, which means it will never be done. So what do you do? I said, what should I do? He said, yeah, there is a way out. I have emergency powers. And under emergency powers, I can approve it. So you write a letter to me and send it through the director of South Campus, because I was placed in South Campus of Delhi University. He did it. So now they are allowed to use scientific calculators, you see. So for finance courses, if not Excel, at least scientific calculators should be used. All right, so let's say that you have structured your, let's say, course. You are going to make it somewhat case-based. Your students should know how to prepare a case. And we should know as teachers, how do we prepare a case, all right? Now, for example, this particular case. When you read this case, the first instance, it will look a little difficult. But do read it quickly, you see? And maybe that you would like to mark some points somewhere, some sentences, some keywords, but then read it second time. Now read it very carefully and stop at first paragraph, let's say, and see what do you understand from this paragraph? What information is given? What is that which will be useful for you to understand how to solve this problem case? And similarly, you go through. Now on the side, on the margins of your page, you write those small points there, okay? Now in finance cases, always look at the exhibits very, very carefully. all exhibits which are given, except sometimes when they want to confuse the students and they give irrelevant exhibits, otherwise exhibits should convey something. You must look at those numbers very carefully and try to interpret them, okay, so that it becomes useful in your case analysis. Naturally, in finance courses, you are going to be required to make the calculations. More the reason to go through those tables, exhibits very, very carefully, you see. Then you try to identify that what are the main issues, one single issue or multiple issues. But is there a central problem to be resolved? And then there may be sub-problems. So even you should tell your students how to prepare the case, and we should also prepare in the same way, all right? Now, every time write your own notes. When you are teaching first few times, I think write your own notes, all right? So that things become very, very clear. And then anticipate what kind of questions, difficult questions the students could also ask, all right? Because every class would have some super intelligent students and they can ask something which you have not thought through. Now, once you are thorough with the case facts, data, you should remember certain data actually when you are discussing in the class. And if you can say, well, this point which you made is not relevant. Look at page 4, look at page 3. You should know that all, that what is there at each page of the case, all right? So that becomes very, very important for you. Now, for example, many students, they will take it for granted. They know that in the class, there would be few students who will discuss and therefore they can write on them, all right? So this free ride, actually, how do you detect it? The free ride is detected by asking questions, all right? Questions about the facts of the case, all right? Certain numbers which they should have looked into or worked out. So, and also there can be a warming up. Now, teachers' styles differ. Some teachers, what they do is when they come to the class and they say, look, this case focuses on these issues. Please, let's discuss them. But in our case, for example, when I used to teach in IIM Ahmedabad, I'll say that, look, tell me whatever is there in the case and then give your analysis. I will not ask them any questions. Again, when you are giving a case, the Harvard cases as it is will not have any questions to be asked to the students. Okay, of course, if you look at the teaching, there would be questions given, but you prepare your own case questions. Now, what questions you should ask your students? That depends on the quality of your students. If they are matured enough and if they can even, let's say, go through of the problems and the issues themselves without even asking questions, then you don't ask. Of course, in the class you ask questions, but you don't give them any questions in advance. But if you know that your students require little hand holding in preparing the case, then you give them questions. Less the quality of the students, ask more short questions before coming to the class, that you think about these questions, and if possible, you write your own answers, short answer to these questions, and we shall discuss in the class, all right? So it depends on the quality of the students, whether you would like to give them questions to prepare or not, all right? If they are very mature, you can give 1 or 2 questions to prepare, okay? Now, in this case, I gave only 2 questions, for example. I could have given so many questions. I could have said, look, there are 4 exhibits here. Look at exhibit 1 and do 1, 2, 3, 4. I could say that, what do you infer from exhibit 2 and 3, for example? Why this information is given? Why it is needed? What use you are going to make? I can ask that in the class. But if I know my students are not going to reflect on that, then I will give some questions. That please look at exhibit 2 and tell me these things, or 3 and 4. What use would you make of exhibit 4, for example? I could give those kinds of questions. Now, just to give you, again, at the same time, the use of technology is very, very important. Now, online learning, particularly the technology, becomes very, very important. Now, unfortunately, in our countries, we have problem of bandwidth, and therefore we generally mute participants. But actually it's not needed. In case method, I need to look at my students. I to have eye-to-eye contact with them, right? In the class, that's what you do. In the physical class, that's what you do. And here, we are not able to do it. So if we improve our systems in our countries, then we can even do that. So now, choice of technology. Now here we are using Zoom. There are many alternatives. You can use Google Meet, for example. You can use Teams of Microsoft. Now, Teams of Microsoft is quite versatile actually, and one can use that also. But one is simple giving a lecture or even discussing. Another one is that what are those additional tools which I would like to use. Case method without a board is not permitted actually. The teacher cannot talk. Teacher has to write what students talk. Teacher has to make students to talk in a case method. And the ideas which are coming from the students, he or she has to put it on the board, whatever board you have, blackboard or whiteboard. Of course, in the board, which we electronic boards generally are called whiteboards. But then in the classroom, you can have, traditionally we used to say blackboards. All right, of course, there is a software called Blackboard, application learning management system called Blackboard also, which is paid. So chalks and blackboard, that is the traditional method of discussing case method in the class. Now the beauty in your discussion, in you as a teacher, lies in how you categorize the views of the students on the blackboard. One method, very simple method, is that students say whatever they, and you go on writing one by one. Another is that you have well thought about the case yourself. And if you could anticipate through the case analysis, your own case analysis, that look, this case has got these 4 or 5 components or 3 components. Create boards within board. What does that mean? Well, when I'm saying create boards within board, that simply means that you just categorize. Whenever one student says something, if it belongs to one particular aspect of your case, write it there. The second student gives a point which actually doesn't belong to this, belongs to something different. You put a different board in different board. Now that way you shall be able to collect their ideas into 3-4 boards within board. So by chalk you are creating boards in a board. So through your chalk you are doing that kind of a thing. You are categorizing them. And then try to bring the connection. No student will be able to give you one full analysis of the case in the class. It will be cooperative efforts, and their learning takes place from each other, more from each other and then teacher. Okay. I think, can you develop your students in this particular way? That's a challenge, and that challenge, if one tries, can be met. Okay. Only condition is that, well, of course, in some of our institutions, particularly undergraduate, I don't know whether it happens in postgraduate also, they are indisciplined. So it's very difficult to use case method with the undergraduate student. But the postgraduate students, you can, if they are matured, if they understand that learning is important for them, if companies recruit them and they also expect them to show them the application of the concepts and theories that they have learned, I think it can become a very effective method. So I was saying that use of technology and how you ask some initial questions to warm them up. Now in Zoom, there is a facility which is also available in Teams, for example, or perhaps even in Meet. I've used Meet occasionally, but I've used extensively Zoom and Teams. Now here we have a facility called poll. So you should, as a teacher, you create the poll before coming to the class, and you start with your poll. Even in physical classroom, if you are insisting that they should come up with their computers, you can give this poll to them instantaneously in the class. And you give them a time, 1 minute or 2 minutes, and you say you finish. Actually, this poll is such, it's not for evaluation purpose. This poll is just to understand whether the class in general, what is their preparation. So you will not even identify the student actually. So you say it's anonymous, but then I would like to know that how many of you have really seriously gone through this particular case. So we have prepared for this case just to illustrate or to show to you. I have prepared certain polls. So I'm giving you first poll. It will be launched. You have to answer it very quickly, okay? And it will also show how many are wrong answers, how many are correct answers, but no name would be revealed. Even I won't know the names, by the way. So I'm launching it. And once you see it, then you answer it. So do you see this on your board? DuPont market share is in 1985 under growth strategies expected to be 45%, 55%, 65%, none of these. Well, I want quick answers. Only 5% have responded. The number is increasing. 11 now, 14, 16, 17.
Only 65% answered.
Huh?
Only 65% answered. They are answered very quickly.
What I say is 17 have answered.
Yeah.
65% have voted.
69%.
But no other. What happens to others? Because there are 10 more people.
They can't decide, I think. Some of them
Huh?
come in as a group, sir. Some of the universities, they come in as a group.
But somebody would be there. Some of them, one or two can answer, no?
Yes, yes. 6 to, there are, 21.
Mm-hmm.
Another 5 haven't answered yet. Please, 1 minute.
23.
3.
Okay.
3. Okay.
Now, all right, it's okay. So 12 persons, 52% say 65, then 26% say 45, and 2% say 55. There are 3 who say none of these. Now, let me share the results and you will see. Where is the result? Can you see results? No.
Yes.
And which is the correct answer? It is not shown here. No, it should come. Anyway, now stop share results. Results are actually, it is not showing the answer. It should show. Wasantha, I think there is something. There is a column there. Automatically, it will show what is the answer and how many have correctly answered.
52% correctly answers.
Huh?
52%.
No, the correct answer was what? 45, no?
Yeah.
So, okay.
65. 65% correctly answers.
Okay. All right. So, do we have a second poll? Do we have second poll?
Yes, sir. You can go to the second one. Shall I launch it?
Let's launch all of them. Let's see.
Stop sharing results.
Yes.
Shall I go to the second one?
No, I don't see second one. No, I see only one.
Wait. Shall I launch the second one, sir?
Yeah, you can launch. You can launch second one.
Can you see now?
No. Yeah, we
We'll
can
answer
see
it.
it.
Yeah, we'll answer it.
Yes, 10 persons have so far 11. Seventeen. We have 18 answer. Actually, these answers should be quick. Okay, and shouldn't take more than 1 minute or so. So for your students, I think you should ask them, and you can see that in 1 minute I will end the polling.
Okay.
So now 22. So it's up to you, of course, if you want to keep it open for now. This, of course, is less than 2 minutes. 23 have responded. Okay, if we end the poll, now let's say that if I end this poll here at 23 students, now in the first case, the correct answer was 65. And in the 65, in the second case, the correct answer is 45. So what we find is 45%, now 65% have correctly answered it. And in the previous case, 52% have correctly answered the question, all right? Which means that some of you have not very carefully read the case. That's what we inferred. We don't know the names right now. So your class, when you are doing it in your class, actually, so this gives you an idea that how many students have prepared. And therefore now you should find out yourself, actually, that who are they? Well, don't identify, just ask randomly some of them whether they have read cases or not, all right? Because if majority has not read the case, it's going to be a problem for you to teach. Of course, in IIM Ahmedabad, we will not proceed, we will leave the class if it's not well prepared. Well, of course, every time you get few of them who might not have prepared. But if I get an idea that a large majority has not read this case very carefully, we will not proceed. We will say this case is gone. We will not discuss it. And we never know, you never know what case will come in your exam. It hardly happened there. It never happened there. But then when I came to Delhi University and this last institute where this MBA program is there, I encouraged my faculty to use cases, IIM Ahmedabad cases or Harvard cases or whatever cases they could write themselves, because most of them had industry experience. So I said, you write your own cases. Few of them did write, but not all. And there we had this bad experience, of course, but then we were encouraging them, giving them extra time to read. To begin with, one may have to do all those kinds of things. You may create groups which will not be formal classes, but then if you have intention, you divide them in group and you say, I will be present in that class while you are preparing, and then ask them to prepare in groups at least so that they work together. All right. So similarly, we had other polls also, but then I think I have just shown you. So your poll would also have answers. When we show the results, it will very clearly show that which was the correct answer. All right. Now Zoom has that, but then you should have all rights with you when you are designing a class, when you are creating a Zoom meeting, you have to have the right to develop the poll yourself. So what you have to do is you have to go to zoom.us, right straight away to that. And there is a provision of creating polls, also identifying the answer. That answer will be known to you only. It will not go to the students. But when you come in the class and when you give the poll and when you conduct it and then show the results, it will show that which one is the correct answer. Okay. That is one use of technology to check whether the participants have prepared the case. I repeat, if the participants do not come well prepared, case method will not work. For case method to work, everyone, teacher is not, those teachers who are teaching cases rather discussing them. When I say discussing means the students are speaking most of the time. Teacher is only encouraging, helping them, asking them questions. So for example, if I ask a question and your answer is right or wrong, I may ask another question. Okay. Either it will lead to correct answer or it will lead to another wrong answer. I will again ask a question or I will ask another student, do you agree with this answer? Now that is the way in which case method is organized. Okay. All right. Now let's come to this case. Now, if you have read, and those of you who have read it very, very carefully, now how are you going to teach this in the class? Wasantha, I would like in order for them to answer, you have to unmute them.
Sure, sure.
You can mute their video.
Yeah. Take it off. Yes.
So anybody can. I think now in case method, what happens is sometimes we say anyone can answer, and most of the time we may name somebody. See, these are called cold calls. Cold calls, COLD, cold calls. That teacher can pick up any student to talk. Now in Ahmedabad as well as elsewhere, wherever case method is done, 20% marks are reserved for class participation. And teacher keeps a note that who is contributing on which day, how many days, whether the quality of contribution was good or bad. At least those who try, you do give them some marks. Those who are always prepared and also make good points, they are given almost full marks sometimes, you see. So out of 20, you may get 19, 18, 17, or 1 or 2, or even 0, right? And well, I don't know universities whether they allow in IIM Ahmedabad from the very beginning, everything is controlled by the teacher. The examination paper is prepared by the teacher, but the university system is a very bad system. Somebody teaches, other person prepares the question paper. The third one maybe seeing the answers. So all kinds of things happen in university. It's very difficult, large university to control. IIM Ahmedabad is one single institute devoted to MBA, PhD programs, right? So, and Harvard, and even in Delhi school, I followed the same method. It worked quite well, actually. That if you are honest, and now I think we fail students. Number of students fail because this method could be misused. All right, so it is in the hand of the teacher, and well, marks are given back to the student. Answer sheets are given back to the students. Okay, immediately. And well, we had the same thing in AIT also. We were giving back the answer sheets and the students could compare why I got less marks, why this person has got more marks. It's a very open system. So the assumption is that it works because everybody is honest enough to implement this kind of a system. So generally we have 20% marks for class participation. Delhi University, what they have done nowadays is that there is an internal assessment also where the teacher has 30% in his or her hands. But there are stories in the newspaper of misusing it, all right? But if you are a true teacher, you are a real good teacher, then I think it can be an effective method of learning. So I don't know whether all of us can implement this kind of a thing or not, but there is class participation, which is an important part of the case method. Even if it is not, if it's only for learning purposes, because your students must learn the application of the concepts and theories. They must. And therefore, even if it doesn't become part of the examinations, at least 20-25% of them will gain quite a lot out of it. If everyone is not interested, definitely the good ones, and it depends on the persuasion of the teacher, motivation of the teacher, if they want to learn. Okay, so one general question which I can ask is that, what do you find in this case? What do you find in this case? What do you think, or I can elaborate it further if no answer is coming, for example, in the class, and I say, okay, tell me what decision has to be made in this case. Cases have to be decision oriented. What decision you are required to make? Very simple question. Some of you can speak.
You can answer, you can control your mind.
When you speak, I will write. So here is a whiteboard. This whiteboard is Microsoft whiteboard, right? Windows 10. There is a board which Zoom has. Can you see this board?
Yes.
You can see. Okay, good. Now there is some hand. Hemendra, I found, raised a hand. Yes, Hemendra, you can speak if you like.
Yes, Hemendra.
There is a hand raised actually.
Maybe mistakenly.
All right. Now somebody should. Anybody speaking? No. No one is speaking. So my question is that what decision, what problem this company is trying to resolve? What problem this company is trying to resolve?
They are trying to find out.
What's your name? Well, please tell your name.
I'm Nilangi.
Yes, Nilangi.
What they're trying to see is if they should go for an expansion with their competitive advantages or to maintain their market share. That is what they're trying to find out. That's their main decision they're going to make.
Now, okay, so what you are saying is that decision to be made is to go for expansion. That's what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, to expand. All right. Now, is that really the problem? Expand in what way?
With their existing advantage. They have advantage in chloride.
Now, what are the alternatives before them to expand?
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah, please.
What's your name?
I am Hemant.
Yes, Hemant.
So there are two alternatives for the expansion. What's the growth strategy and the maintenance strategy? This case actually teacher has to find out how is the capability of the students to evaluate these two alternatives in the financial evaluation as well as the qualitative angle and make the decision.
Okay, good. So there are two strategies which they are considering. One is to maintain, all right, that's one strategy. And the another strategy is to growth. Okay, that growth strategy. All right. Now, so how should they evaluate them? What are those things they need to consider?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Hemant. So that actually to consider that the financial evaluation, they can go into that first they have to calculate the free cash flows and then they have to find out what is the discount rate and then discount it and find out the net present value. And that is one angle. So
Okay. Cash flows and discount rate. Do we have discount rate given?
not given, but in this case mentioned that because of the USA bond rate to be considered. So that's that time, but in Sri Lankan, we can get the Sri Lankan bond rate for discount. Because this is the lower leverage company.
But the discount rate is not only bond, no?
Yeah, but that's not, they can calculate either, but the information was not available to calculate it. But only
So then you have so
after,
if discount rate is not given, then you have a problem. All right. We
no,
will come back to that point. Now, okay, if we are saying cash flow, now what are those exhibits which you will use to develop the cash flows? What exhibit, where is the information given?
it's in the annexure 4 given it. So most of the information and other annexures also certain information you can get it.
So what now, for example, if I say maintain strategy, now, and I want to calculate cash flows here. Let's say I want to calculate cash flows here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So sales figure you have to first calculate.
Okay. On my this pencil, it's not charged. So I will now start typing actually. So I will start. So actually here, do you see these in the whiteboard? You can use pencil, and these are different color pencils which you can use. This is highlighter. This is eraser. Whatever you write, if you want to erase, you can use it. This is a scale. If you want to draw a line, straight line, etc., you can use scale. Of course, this is a Lasso select. I will show you the. Now, if you want to type, you can just click on add text. All right. But if you want to use yellow slips and write on that, you can click here. Add note will give you yellow slip. And then there are other things which will be. Now, say for example, now I will take this under this one because I want to first understand that what are the cash flows here. Okay. So let me calculate now for calculating these cash flows, what information do I have? What information do I have?
We have that in the annexure 4 given you the market share of the each year for this one, and then the tonnage was given. Then you can calculate the market share belong to this company for the each year, and then the the selling price has given. So then multiplying each year, you will be able to calculate the yearly sales. And
Okay.
in same way, the cost capacity was given each year. And
Size of market is given, and then the market share of this company is given. All right.
yeah, selling price was given.
If you look at exhibit 4, then you have cash flows to be calculated. So this is the information which we have. All right.
Yes.
Then what else is given there? So what I can do is I can find out the market share. Size is given, market share is given. So this is given. If you say that this information is given in exhibit 4, this is given. Now market share is also available. They have estimated market share. So from here, what can you find out? You can find out what will be the total volume of this company. Right? If you multiply the two, you will get new volume or the capacity. All right?
Capacity.
So you will, so you will get new volume here. New capacity, you can say. The existing capacity is given. Why do you need this information?
No, this is the capacity given for the cost, to calculate the cost, right?
You can calculate new volume or new capacity based on the above two information. 1 and 2. Size of market is given. After 73, market share is given, which increases to 45% in one case, that is the maintain, and in the build, it increases to 64%, all right? So you can multiply the two and you can get new volume or capacity for the company.
Yeah.
The existing capacity at the end of 1972, okay, it is 325. It's given 325. So exhibit 2, if you look at exhibit 2, the 72 total capacity is 325. Okay. It is given there. 325, sorry, 325.
325.
That is your existing. The existing capacity is 325 ton. Okay. And now, so what will you do next? So you have your new capacity, you have existing capacity. What would you do next? Somebody has to tell me theoretically that when you calculate cash flows,
Actually, I have calculated this way. I have the spreadsheet I can share with you if you.
No, what he's asking, based on this information, what you can calculate next.
So capacity was given to calculate the cost of the.
okay.
No.
Let's look at what is given first. We are given price per ton. We are given price per ton or not?
Price per ton given.
Given, okay.
So then
And
I have done, they have given the first column of that.
Now, whatever is given, actually, now that is why I was asking theoretically.
Annex 4 given the size of the market and the market share given, then we can calculate the number of tonnage they can sell for the each year, multiply by the price per ton, then you will get the sales of that particular year for that company. That is, if you are example 1973, according to then the market share is 752. 35.7% was the market share. Multiply 7 by 263.6 ton is for the particular year sales. Then multiply by the price 540 for the one regarding the growth strategy price, and the you can get the growth strategy price and multiply that. Then you get the sale capacity given. So the capacity, then that is the capacity is the 540. So capacity was used to calculate the cost.
Okay, now
let's
understand. Now let's understand that when we calculate cash flows, now as in this case, what are we given? As you just explained, and we have been explaining that size of market is given, market share, expected market share is given. Now, from the expected market share and size of the market, we get new volume. And we are also given the existing capacity is 325. Then price is given, and then cost per ton is also given. So what you can find out is the revenue. But then here there is a point. The point which we need to remember is that should we multiply new volume or capacity by the price or some different number? That's my question. Should we multiply new volume or capacity by price or something else?
No, volume has to be multiplied from the price to get the sales. Capacity.
No. Answer my question first. Shall we use this volume, which is the new volume, or any other volume? That's my question.
Any other volumes?
This volume.
No.
Okay, so now here we need to understand the concept. The concept is incremental cash flows. All right. Now, what is incremental? Existing capacity is 325. It is over and above 325. That is new capacity to be sold. What are we assuming? That 325 you will continue selling. That's not relevant therefore, because it was happening, it will happen. What is important therefore is that you need to find out that what is your incremental volume or capacity, incremental. And incremental is that you are subtracting the existing capacity, incremental volume. Okay? Now you can multiply incremental volume by price, or what you can do is price per ton minus your cost per ton. You can straight away write one line by subtracting cost from the price as your earning before interest, after depreciation, etc. as the difference. All right. Anyway, now what else would you? So one is revenue increase. What is revenue increase? That is the additional capacity which you are building. You already have 325. You already have. Actually, what you will be doing in your case method is that you would have discussed some other cases in the class before coming. This is a little different case. Actually, it cannot be taught in the beginning. This case should come towards the end, almost towards the end, or after some times when you have already done 2-3 cases in capital budgeting. Now you will take simple case where how to calculate incremental cash flows, right? So it's an expansion or the growth strategy where expansion means it's based on something which already exists. When it's a new project, new plant, new product, then there will not be incremental is whatever is the sales, because there is nothing existing. Here there is existing sales, existing capacity. So you have to subtract. What is important is how much additional revenue profit you generate by making additional investment, okay? Additional capital expenditure. Now, so one point is this, that you have got your revenue, you have got your cost, and the difference is your profit before tax. Now tell me that if you have got this one, now what else in this case, given the facts of the case, don't tell me theoretically now. What is given in the case, what adjustment would you make? What adjustment as far as this case is concerned? Now where is the information given? On which page the information is available? Page 4, second paragraph onwards. You have full information, right? So you have to make adjustment for what? There is investment tax credit in America. Now it's not there, I believe. Investment tax credit is to encourage more capital expenditure, that is plant and machinery, so that more growth takes place in the country. India also had something called developmental rebate. It was not called ITC, it was called developmental rebate. So in addition to the depreciation, you get that development. So here that was allowed. So here what you have to do is, you have to make adjustment for what? What about depreciation? Where is depreciation?
10%.
No, it's not depreciation. It's ITC. It's investment tax credit, which is in addition to depreciation. So actually here in this case, it's very clearly the forecast of the demand of TIQ3 to capacity, costs, operating expenses, everything is given in Exhibit 4. DuPont's market share at the end of the capacity expansion, it was expected to be 65 under growth, 45 under maintain. Forecast prices for TIO were expected to be lower at first under growth strategy relative to the maintain. but then the prices were expected to be high for the growth strategy. The cost of new plant is 900 per ton. So you have to find out that what is the additional capacity which is built, multiply that by 900, that will give you capital expenditure every year. Right? Now the next sentence, now of course there is capital investment would be eligible for 10% investment tax credit, which I just explained to you. I think the next line is very, very important. Ongoing capital expenditure for maintenance and replacement were expected to be approximate equal to depreciation allowance. All right. So your depreciation allowance is equal to maintenance expenditure. So generally what we do theoretically, we say our profit before depreciation, less depreciation, then we calculate tax on that, and then we add back depreciation because it's a non-cash item. Now here, what they are saying is that the profit itself is adjusting for depreciation. That has been given somewhere, either in the footnote or. And therefore you need not to add back. What cancels out is, first you would add depreciation, but then you will deduct maintenance allowance, isn't it? So it will cancel each other. So there is no adjustment for depreciation. It's automatic. It's automatic. So you need to remember that, because generally, theoretically, depreciation will be deducted in order to calculate tax and then added back because it's a non-cash item. All right. Then you have to calculate working capital, change in working capital. Again, this will be change, which means additional sales between two periods. That's very important point. Anyway, I think what we are trying to do is that there is, I will not teach the case. Now I'll simply tell you that there is a very important part in the case, which is the financial analysis, the financial evaluation of the case. Your students and you should be very good at calculation of cash flows. What we call them is free cash flows. What is a free cash flow? Before charging interest and repaying debt, which means that whatever cash flow is left, it is to serve your debt holders and as well as pay dividend to the shareholders. We are calculating value of the project before doing that, because it will be after that. Okay. So free cash flow is a very important concept in finance that has to be remembered. And that free cash flow is, generally speaking, sales minus your cost minus depreciation. On that profit, you calculate tax, okay? Then add back depreciation, subtract increase in the working capital, and subtract capital expenditure. This theoretically forms the definition of free cash flow. So here you have to calculate for both strategies that how much is the cash flow. Now, for example, if I, let's say, because some of you have also, where is my Zoom? My Zoom, I stopped sharing. Okay. Now I'll show you, because one of you have done that. Now I show you one of the calculations. Now this is calculation for maintain strategy. Okay, maintain strategy. Now total volume, DuPont share is given, that is already given. And I is exhibit 4, I just put it in this format. This was given vertically. I put this format, all right, so that I could copy the given information. So I have copied it here. Total market from exhibit 4, I have copied total volume. I have copied volume, and then I am saying the existing volume. Now the total, sorry, then I have calculated the volume as per these two numbers. So 263 is 752 multiplied by 35, 40, like that. This is the existing capacity, 325, okay? And this is price per ton. Now what I can do is, then I will find out the incremental Okay, so actually this is the incremental volume. So you don't calculate your revenue on this number. You calculate your revenue on this number, which is the difference. So you get incremental sales. All right. This is your incremental sales. Then price is given. Cost is given. That is exhibit 4. I find out the difference between the two. I find out the difference between the two. This is my incremental earnings before interest after tax. Okay, before interest, after tax. Now, how do I calculate? This is the difference between these two numbers. Sorry, incremental profit is now this 225 multiplied by incremental sales. Okay. I calculate tax on this. How much is the tax rate? Anybody who can tell me?
48%.
Very good. Where did you get it?
It is in the first page or second page. It says that the progressive rate was 48 when the footnote was there.
Yes, there is a footnote. So please remember to read footnotes. It is given there that tax is 48%. So I have calculated 48% of the incremental profit, and then I get incremental earnings before interest after taxes. In free cash flows, interest are never adjusted, remember, because it is out of those cash flows that interest will be paid. So free cash flow is an important concept in finance. Later on, Jensen developed entire theory of agency on that. Now, what is the capital expenditure? There some more adjustments have to be made here. Okay, that is working capital, etc. ITC. Now, per ton cost is given, additional capacity is given, you multiply the two, you get incremental capital expenditure. Now we are calculating free cash flows this way. Now we are copying incremental EBIT from here, from column 18 here. We are then providing for ITC, that is an addition. You save this much tax. You save this much tax, so it's an addition. It's not a subtraction. And that gives you incremental flows, and then you adjust your net working capital. Net working capital is 20%. 20% of the difference in two periods sales. Remember that. It's the difference between two period sales. This year minus last year, then multiplied by 20. Now, this all adjustment gives you incremental free cash flows. And when you add terminal value is how much here? What is the formula given for terminal value here? The formula given for terminal value is book value of new capital expenditure and working capital, incremental working capital. You add the two. So this is your incremental investment. This is your incremental NWC. I have added all of them here together because case says that. It's not a correct approach, but case says terminal value can be taken equal to the book values of both of them. Now, so finally is your incremental free cash flows. No discount rate is given, therefore I have calculated internal rate of return. Okay. In the similar way, you can calculate for the growth. Then if you do that, actually when you calculate internal rate for the growth, it comes higher, slightly higher, 1 or 2% higher than the maintain. What would you do then? Will you adopt growth strategy or maintain strategy? This analysis brings you to other, what we call the strategic analysis of in the case. So it's not financial, which is so critical. What you need to now do is that what is the, so here actually, what you have to do here is that you calculate these free cash flows to begin with. Let's have the financial analysis under these two methods. Okay. Then you calculate internal rate for each one of them. So what you do is, what is the IRR for this? What is the IRR for this strategy? I'm making an assumption that this, I will call it growth G and this I will call M. Let us, which is correct actually, but I am not giving you all numbers now. Let us say this is greater than IRR of, so growth strategy gives a higher IRR than, let's say, which one will you choose? Slightly higher. Let me say that this is 22.3% and this is 23.4%. Sorry, other way around. And this is 23 point, let me erase them. Okay. So I say that this one is 23.4. This is 22 point, let's say 6. Just arbitrary. Actually, these are the numbers, but I didn't work out. I didn't show you growth. Which one would you? Because this is slightly. What can go wrong? Now ask the question to the students. What can go wrong, or why you should choose growth if you are saying growth? Why you should, if somebody says, you should force your student to say, would they go for growth strategy or not? What is your opinion? Did you think about this question? So actually what you have in this case is, therefore, there is financial analysis. There is financial analysis, okay? And then you have strategic analysis. Now, if you compare, you will find out that in case of your growth strategy, the cash flows are different from the cash flows of the maintenance strategy, obviously. And when we say internal rate has a problem, internal rate has a problem actually. It has a problem because it does not give you an idea of what we call value. And that value is reflected by net present value. Unfortunately, we don't have discount rate here, because discount rate should consist of two things. It should be your debt rate, bond rate, whatever, and the equity. We have no data about equity whatsoever. Therefore, we cannot make any assumption. So financial analysis is the calculation of free cash flow, okay? And then internal rate of, this will take a lot of time actually in the class. And you must go through that with the students. Otherwise, they will never do it. You should make them to do it again and again, right? So that they become expert in calculating free cash flows. Internal rate of return may be higher in growth, but then you say, why do you think that you should prefer growth? Are there other reasons? This brings to strategic analysis, all right? This one brings you to the strategy. And I think half of your time, if you divide let's say two classes of 90 minutes each or whatever, 75 minutes each, one day should go on financial calculation, second day should go for strategic analysis. So what we are saying that to do this, you must have knowledge of strategic management. Finance people must learn strategic management at their own if they have not been taught. If they have done MBA and they were attentive in the class, they would know it, but then they need to refresh. Now you look at the data of the case, it talks about industry. Actually, what you are talking about is that this growth strategy, I need to evaluate my growth strategy. What are you trying to do actually in this growth strategy? You are trying to grow in a big way, all right? Actually, you are going to capture almost 2/3 of the market. You know that the expected capacity of the entire market, expected market capacity is how much? Again, that is given in Exhibit 3. or in the text of the case, 320,000 tons, right? And what is the capacity which DuPont is building as far as the chloride processes are concerned? By the end of 85, 360 tons. The entire market is worth 320 and they are building capacity. Right now, if you look at that, they have 2/3 of the market. So what are they trying to do? They are trying to preempt. This is called preempt strategy. Entire market. They would like to have a total control on the market. That's what they're trying to do. Okay. So what is their strategy? Their strategy is to build capacity earlier and quickly. To build capacity earlier and quickly. Early and quickly. Very quickly. All right. This is called preempting. Preempting means large capacity, not small capacity. Actually, there is a book by Harvard professor Ghemawat, an Indian, of course, Indian origin. The title of the book is Commitment. I read it long ago. Actually, he has given this example there, not the case, but the example. You have to preempt before your competitors react. You are there in the market, but proper analysis of industry and competition. So we need to look at industry and competition. And the second thing which they are doing is price aggressiveness. Look at Exhibit 4 and you will find that in the beginning the price is lower and then they start increasing price later on. Because once you build the market, you get the market power. So here, this preempt gives you a lot of market power. And market power gets you the ability to charge differential price, higher differential price. Now, this is the contours of their strategy, these two. Okay. Now, can they back it up? And that's why I had these polling questions from Exhibit 1. What is the financial strength of this company? They have very good financial strength. What are the competitors? Who is the next competitor? The next is NL. And then after that, they're so small. And NL also has capacity, more capacity in the technology, which is highly costly, inefficient, costly, and then what you find is that there are provisions with regard to regulations that pollution control investments have to be made. So then you start talking that what is the strength of DuPont so that they could really sustain this strategy. Financial, you have to look at financials. Then you look at what is their technological strength. They have always, this is given in the beginning also in the case, technological strength. They are always ahead of their competitors. Okay. So they have that technology strength also. Now they have the market leadership. They are the already market leadership in the chloride processes. You just see their capacity is market leader. They are market leader, for example. All right. So you can count the strengths of this company vis-a-vis competitors. So what we are saying is that when it comes to analyzing here, these points in the class, I'm not going very deeply and systematically. You have to build competition and a competitive analysis. That is the strength of competitors, their weaknesses, and then industry analysis. What are the trends in industry and what is going to happen? As the technology is changing, as the rhyolite ore discovery is being made, there's a shift. Okay, so you have to devote quite a lot of time. You should not speak out. You should make students to speak. Otherwise, ask them to read case again in the class and tell you and answer your questions. Because if they do it, they will learn it. Now, the question is, what can go wrong? Can something go wrong in spite of all this? Yes? In science, they say unknown unknowns. Unknown unknowns. Okay? Anks. Anks, they call it. Or anything can happen, we don't know. Who knew that pandemic COVID will be there and industry will go down the hill? Nobody anticipated. It happened all of a sudden. You never know if China becomes mad or USA becomes mad and it stages a world war. You never know it sometime. Although a little bit predictable, but then still uncertainty is there. Now for this industry and this company, what can go wrong? What can go wrong, for example, is that there may be new material discovery which may be cheaper and everybody may be able to new material, because that is happening in the past. New rutile ore discovery may be, material discovery may be there which may be cheaper. We don't know. The dollar may strengthen, imports may reduce therefore. People may start, well, as far as the raw material is concerned. But then if in Australia, if it's a cheaper, these imports may increase within the country. So then what happens to this large capacity if imports are cheaper than what this company is doing with such a large capacity? Okay. And then I think in America, their FTC, as you grow large and large, there would be monopoly power which you are building, and therefore the government may impose many controls on you. You may have to share your market with your competitor. They have done it many times. All right. So these are the possible, which is hinted in the case. Actually, you have to bring them together. So you have to really build the analysis of your case before you go to the class. That is why I was saying that you have to understand that what are the issues. There are two main issues here. One is the financial evaluation, which is based on many assumptions. Those assumptions can go wrong, of course. We didn't change any assumption. We just went by what is given in the case. Now, for example, if you are not able to sell your plant at the end of 85, because that was the assumption. If you see your analysis, a large part of your IRR is based on that. Large part is based on that. Okay. Are you able to see this whiteboard?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. All right. So anyway, so this is what I wanted to show to you. I just wanted to tell you how do we analyze. One is that as a teacher, you have to be more thorough than with the students. More thorough than with the students. Okay, that's very, very important. Make all calculations very carefully and then make even some assumptions. What can go wrong? What can student ask in the class? You should be able to explain to them. That is one. Prepare your case, structure it properly, create certain boards. So I would mainly create 3 boards here. One will be with regard to cash flow, and I didn't do that very systematically today. I will keep one board for maintain strategy to understand its cash flows. Second board to understand the growth strategy, its cash flows. Then I will go a little bit briefly about the financial analysis of the company, which is given in exhibit. They have high amount of cash reserves. They have very low debt, for example. Their profit margins are quite high. So it's a very strong company financially, all right? So you have reserve capacity in terms of cash. And so then financial analysis. Then I come to after cash flow financial analysis. Then I will go to financial analysis and strategic analysis back and forth. I will write something on strategic analysis. Then I will ask the students now, means whatever they say, then of course I will help them to think through. And then I will come back to financial analysis to tell them that for them, it is easy to implement this strategy because they have that strength. I will come to the evaluation of their strategy, that building capacity and being price aggressive. What is their strength that it can be sustained? And then I will tell them what is wrong, what can go wrong so that they can go down the hill. But then at the end of the day, you have to force your students to say, generally we don't do it, but you have to take a decision. Will you go for maintain or will you go for growth? So that decision has to be taken. Now here, you may like students to take position, you may not take a position, okay? Or you may take a position, then you have to justify. Then the student may not agree with you, so you should be prepared. It's not necessary that final recommendation, because you have to say your recommendation is based on this logic where you find that the points in favor are more than points against it. And you should be able to defend that. When I'm saying you means even the student should be forced to defend whatever position they take. But never say in the class you are right or you are wrong on the final position. You can say your assumptions are more sound. Your assumptions still require some more discussion on your part, perhaps to really be confident about your final decision. That is what happens in practice. You never know what the final decision is going to be. Okay? So what is a case? Case is the application of theory or concepts in a practical situation. Cases bring reality. Textbook problems do not bring reality. They simply ask students to show whether some concepts they have understood or not, and can they apply in a very simple situation. Reality, things are much more complicated. Financial decision is not merely saying NPV is higher, therefore choose it. Small projects, fine, but not these kinds of projects. The strategic analysis is very, very important. In this particular case, when we were talking about strategic analysis, 2 points were there. The industry, how it is behaving, what is the trend, and competition, that who is stronger than what, and then the preemptive strategy of this particular company given its other strengths, technological superiority and financial strength. Okay, then how to use whiteboard. Explore whiteboard, please explore whiteboard. How to conduct a poll. Now, whiteboard is very important. As I said, look at these. Now I'll show you this one. Now, if I click on this and I say no, you can bring your image from library, from Bing. You can even take a photograph. All right. And so that's what you can do. And when you go here, you have templates here. Now you can go through them. You can bring your PDF here. You can bring your Word document. You can bring your PowerPoint document. But these templates are interesting. You just see what they are. Brainstorming. Do you want your students to do brainstorming? This can be used. Each one can write his or her ideas here. Okay? Or you can go to some other. So there are many of them there. You have several of them. Now, SWOT analysis, if you want to do project planning. So it all depends on you. Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, that finishes the discussion. Any questions?
Audience, do you have any clarifications, question, or anything to ask from Professor Pandey? So you can raise now. or you
Professor,
can chat. Yes.
Professor, I have, first of all, thank you very much. It was a very interesting presentation. Being a lecturer, and I gained how to utilize really the case study method. I have started understanding it, and also, as you told, not to teach, but make the students discuss. They have to discuss it, and that was a very strong point, which I will adopt immediately, because I tend to teach the case, not to
Right.
discuss.
That's right.
Okay, sir. And one question, sir, if possible. Sir, apart from Harvard cases, could you recommend a case book or some cases where we could use in finance that has good cases that applicable to particularly to our context?
Actually, what you can do is in this Harvard case, when you go to the Harvard site, you can find out, you can search for cases on Sri Lanka.
Okay, sir.
Because unless somebody has written, then they will not appear.
Okay, sir.
There would be cases on other developing countries.
Okay, sir.
There are a number of cases from some other countries, India including actually, they are
Okay.
there. So that is one source. Another source is INSEAD. INSEAD is an institute in France.
Okay, sir.
They also collect the Asian cases. So if somebody has written and registered, then you will get Sri Lankan cases. Otherwise, you will have to write yourself.
Also, we can give an assignment to the students of this batch to write cases, and for the next batch, we might use it.
That is possible, but that, of course, we can't do that in this one.
Exactly.
We can have a workshop on case writing.
That's true, sir. That's true.
And another thing is, Dr. Ajwat, we
Yes,
can
sir.
make the Sri Lankan cases from Nankam University in Singapore.
Okay.
So I saw that there are large number of cases they have developed based on the Sri Lankan context.
Okay.
Because once we went to the Australia, they actually discussed the Sri Lankan case study. I was very surprised. Then I asked them, where did you take it? They said, those
Nankam.
cases were developed at Nankam University in Singapore. So they have a special section called case study.
Okay.
So there is this journal, Case Research, which is World Scientific, which comes from Singapore. There's a lot of cases from different countries.
Thank you very, very much. It was very insightful.
Very,
Thank you, Wasantha.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other question from the audience? It's very fruitful session and like eye-open session, particularly for case study teaching.
Very
Case
true.
study is a novel technique for us because most of the time we are just teaching the theoretical things, very traditional way. Any questions from the audience?
I think we have 2 more days. They can think and ask.
Okay.
They should ask more questions. Now, this case which we are going to discuss day after, I would like that participant, they should individually first, they should prepare. Then we will divide them into groups on next, that is on 29th. They should prepare what they should prepare the case, but more importantly, how would they teach? I would like them to make a presentation. If they have understood, first they have to analyze the case and then they say, this is how I'm going to discuss in the case. This will be my strategy to discuss the case. I will ask this question first, second question, third question, and I will try to bring out these points in the case. They should show me that they will create how many boards on the board, 2 boards, 3 boards, and how and what kind of things they will ask so that answers come into those boards.
So there are another 3 polls, but we haven't tested it. What shall we do? We are going to put it or we are going to wind up the session right
now. We have discussed everything. So maybe that next time, I'll give you tomorrow's case for the next one.
Day after tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, because I haven't prepared yet. So tomorrow morning, I'll give them to you.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay, then thank you very much for your contribution. I know that you are very busy. Even though you are very busy, but on the request of the chairman of the vice chancellor, even though he is not couldn't join to today's session, he's very busy with these days. But most probably he will join in the next day. So
it's okay.
Thank you very much for your contribution, and also I must thank to the participants and. please follow the advice given by the Professor Pandey. So he teach us how to teach case study method. So very useful informations, and hope that you can follow those things. And we have another couple of days we can learn a lot of things from him. And thank you very much, sir. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thanks. Thank you, Vasantha.
Thank
Okay,
you,
bye.
Professor. Thank you very much.
Bye.